Trina Spear quit her job at Blackstone, liquidated her 401k to sell scrubs in a hospital parking lot, and in 2021, Figs went public at a $4.4 billion market cap, making it the first company led by two female co-founders and co-CEOs to go public on the New York Stock Exchange. In this episode, we're breaking down exactly what it took to build this multi-billion-dollar business, including fighting a $200 million lawsuit from a legacy scrub giant, hundreds of no's from venture capitalists before landing a $50 million check from a single investor, and building a word-of-mouth marketing engine that every D2C brand dreams of. And here's how it all started. I'm Ruffin, and this is Bridge Club, the girls' club of venture capital, bringing you into the rooms where deals actually happen. This episode is brought to you by Vanta. If you're a founder or investor, you know startups move incredibly fast, and especially so in this era of AI. Startups in my portfolio are attracting enterprise customers much earlier in their life cycles. But these enterprise opportunities come with compliance requirements. So working with Vanta can literally make or break 6- and 7-figure deals. Vanta automates the painful parts of compliance like SOC 2, ISO 27001, HIPAA, and other frameworks so you can focus on building instead of drowning in audit paperwork. With AI changing regulations and buyers' expectations, Vanta continuously monitors your compliance so future deals are never blocked. Vanta knows what's needed and when, and they've built the fastest, easiest path to get you there. That's why fast-growing companies like Ramp and Cursor get in compliance early with Vanta. And right now, Vanta is offering $1,000 off for Bridge Club viewers. If you're building something for enterprise customers, go to vanta.com/ruffin or check out the link in the description. And huge thank you to Vanta for this partnership. In 2012, Heather Hasson was grabbing coffee with a friend, a nurse at Cedars-Sinai who showed up wearing awful boxy scrubs with the size printed on the back. As someone who had been a pre-med student herself and later worked in fashion, she knew exactly how demoralizing it was to spend long shifts in shapeless, uncomfortable scrubs. At the time, the scrubs market, valued at $12 billion in the US and $79 billion globally, was controlled by legacy players like Cherokee and Dickies Medical, all selling commodity products through third-party retailers. Basic cotton blends, boxy fits, limited colors. A set ran $15 to $35. No one had stopped to ask whether the people literally saving lives might deserve something better. Nobody thought it was worth reinventing. And why would they? The margins were thin, the product was just a uniform, and the conventional wisdom was that healthcare workers wouldn't pay more for scrubs. The industry had been operating this way for decades. Meanwhile, Trina Spear was on Wall Street, first at Citigroup, then Blackstone, and had spotted the same gap from the finance side. She had looked at medical supply companies as an analyst and noticed the massive gap left by hospitals no longer providing uniforms. She saw an opportunity where everyone else saw a boring commodity. A mutual friend connected Trina and Heather. Trina flew to LA on 4 days' notice, and over the next few months, she flew out several times a month and they'd drive to hospital parking lots and sell scrubs out of Heather's car, waiting by the doors at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. for shift changes with free coffee and hot chocolate in hand. From the very beginning, Trina and Heather leaned into the power of listening to their customer. Every decision Figs made came back to one question: what do healthcare professionals actually need? They developed proprietary fabric, antimicrobial, 4-way stretch, moisture wicking, anti-wrinkle, built to survive the reality of 16-hour and sometimes 32-hour shifts. They designed jackets specifically calibrated for hospital temperatures between 62 and 65 degrees. They thought about the entire system: what healthcare workers wear on the night shift, commuting to work, at work, and heading home. The distribution model was designed around the profession too. Healthcare workers don't have the luxury of shopping during business hours, so Figs went direct to consumer from day one, with 98% of sales sold through their website. No more trekking to a medical supply store between bedpans and knee braces. The brand also made a contrarian bet for a D2C brand not to rely on Facebook ads or cracking algorithms. Instead, it was built on real people in real hospitals loving the product and telling their colleagues. Think about the physics of word of mouth in a hospital. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of professionals concentrated in one building, seeing each other every single day. When one nurse shows up in Figs, everyone notices. Their customers literally became walking billboards. And the numbers are wild. The majority of new customers come through word of mouth. 70% of revenue comes from repeat buyers. They launch new products every week, and healthcare workers on the night shift dial in at midnight to see what dropped. Styles sell out in a day. And here's the craziest part. Their customer acquisition cost actually decreased as they scaled. Every other D2C brand watches that number go up. As brands attempt to acquire more customers, they inevitably exhaust their most highly converting, low-hanging fruit audiences and are forced to target broader, colder demographics. The opposite happened to Figs. This is what happens when you stay relentlessly close to the people you serve. From those early days selling scrubs out of a car at 7 a.m. shift changes, Trina and Heather never stopped listening. They gathered feedback at every touch point and used it to refine the next version. That direct relationship was exactly what legacy players never had. Figs built a community around a profession, relationships with real people, a brand people love, and a product people come back to over and over and over again to buy. The road wasn't easy. Figs got hundreds of no's from investors before their first yes. They raised just $75 million total as a private company. Compare that to Poshmark's $153 million or ThredUp's $304 million in the same IPO year. And they were profitable by 2020. But just to stay alive, Figs had to fight a lawsuit from one of the industry's biggest players. In 2019, strategic partners, the parent company to Cherokee, Dickies Medical, and other legacy scrub brands, sued Figs for $200 million. The lawsuit alleged false advertising and unfair business practices, but Figs' own internal evidence painted a different picture. Internal emails from strategic partners' CEO showed the company scrambling to respond to Figs' rise, asking, "How do we attack them?" and later admitting, "We are getting our asses kicked." After a 3-week federal trial in 2022, a jury ruled entirely in favor of Figs, rejecting all of Strategic's claims. The litigation settled in early 2023 with no payments from either side. Figs' chief legal officer called it a powerful win for fair competition. And then they took it all the way to the New York Stock Exchange. On May 27, 2021, Trina and Heather rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange, but they didn't bring their board and their bankers. They brought their community. 60 healthcare professionals were at the IPO. 12 of them stood on the podium to ring the bell. And then they did something that had never been done before. Figs became the very first IPO to offer retail investors early access through Robinhood. Pre-IPO access is typically a Wall Street insider privilege, the kind of thing reserved for institutional investors and well-connected funds. Figs opened that door to their healthcare workers and everyday investors. A company that built its entire brand around serving healthcare workers from the product to the distribution to the community. Then at the single biggest financial milestone of the company's life, they said, "We want our community to be able to invest in this too." So here's why this story matters. I absolutely love Heather and Trina's story. It's a masterclass in building a modern consumer company. The intentional choices they made around product, distribution, community, and staying relentlessly close to their customer. Everything about how they built Figs is worth studying.